everyone, it's Alyssa, the Recipe Critic, and today we are making, honestly, the best chicken parmesan I've ever had. It has a crispy parmesan crust and is super tender and juicy on the inside, topped with marinara and melty cheese. I made this recipe again last week for my family, and I have never had a more flavorful chicken parmesan. Everyone was raving about this dish, and I promise this recipe is better than the rest. To start, we need to prepare the chicken. You will need 2 chicken breasts, and they will need to be a little bit thicker in size so that you can slice them in half. And when you're slicing it, try to make it as even as possible and go right down the middle. Then we'll salt both sides of the chicken and then sprinkle some Italian seasoning. We will set our chicken aside and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Next, we are going to create our breading station for our chicken. So our first station, we're going to add our flour. In our next dish, we're going to add 2 eggs, some salt, garlic powder. We're going to give that a good whisk. And our last dish gets panko and Parmesan mixed. And I like to add a wire rack to a baking sheet to put my chicken here when it's done. Now we're gonna bread the chicken, and what I like to do is use one hand for the wet ingredients and one hand for the dry ingredients, and that way there isn't as much of a mess. To start, we're gonna add our chicken to the flour. Next, we're gonna drop it in our egg mixture. And last, in our panko. Make sure that's good and coated. And the final last, put it onto your pan. Next, we're gonna heat our oil to 350 degrees. Once our oil is heated, we are gonna add our chicken breasts to the pan. We're gonna cook each side for about 2.5 minutes until they are golden brown. Just be really careful when you're flipping them over not to splash the oil. Once it's nice and golden brown on each side, put it in your baking dish. And if your chicken is a little too big for your baking dish, you can put it on a sheet pan as well. Next, we're gonna top each piece with my homemade marinara sauce, or you can use your favorite jarred recipe as well. Now you can add more or less sauce, but this is about the amount that I like to make for my family. And then we're gonna top it with some sliced mozzarella cheese. You can also use shredded cheese for this as well. We're gonna finish this off in the oven for about 15 minutes. I like to broil my chicken at the end for about 1 to 2 minutes so it can get nice and brown and bubbly, but that is completely optional. This recipe is such a classic recipe, and you are especially gonna love this one. We love to serve it with some garlic bread and a side of pasta. For the full written recipe, visit therecipecritic.com.